The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
What is up, everybody? Welcome inside a glorious Wednesday episode with the rain falling on my windows. So it's definitely a rainy day here in Northeast Ohio. Anthony Hartwig with you, as always, on Running Point, and as always on Wednesdays, my sidecar, my buddy, my sidekick, Scotty Mentor. How we doing today, Scotty?
I'm good. I missed last week. I wasn't feeling well, but I feel great now. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Hey, were you hearing me clear? Because I know, but for those of you that don't know, like backstage before we started, we had a little bit of audio issues. You heard me clear?
Yeah, I think that was on my end.
Okay, good.
I apologize for that.
No, we got it all fixed. We don't have any glitch gremlins when we're live, which is always good. I think we have a very good, solid streak going of days without glitch gremlins here on Running Point.
Yeah,
I blame Ty. It always happened with Ty. So
I think that's because remember I started slumping time. He had to pull out all the stuff. I started stumping
pull out the glitch
towards
gremlin.
the end there.
right, no, it was because Ty was a cyborg. So he was more amped to have a little bit of technical issues, right? But let's get back to the nitty gritty of this show. Like every day, we love talking about local sports. We love bringing up all the great topics that you guys like to hear. And Wednesdays are fun because Scotty gets to just kind of talk about what he wants to talk about on this show. But we do have to talk about first. We did have softball that went on yesterday, Little League softball in Austintown. They had their first loss of the summer in the regional tournament. They lost to Indiana by a final score of 6-1. I believe it was 7-1 to Indiana to knock them into the elimination bracket, which they are supposed to be playing right now. But I just checked, and there's a weather delay in Indiana, so Austintown not playing yet. We'll stay up to date on the time change for that game and whatnot. But and just Scotty, like we know it, we all know it. Softball, baseball, whatever side you're on, you can have days where things just don't go right, and that's why it can be such a fickle creature. I mean, Austintown was just cruising through the district, through the state, first round of the first game of the regional tournament, cruise, and then all of a sudden they hit this a little bit of a clunker game. And at this level in the regionals, Indiana State champion makes them pay.
Yeah, this is the level, best cream of the crop or best of the best. So, it doesn't really matter day to day. They were coming in on such a roll and looking pretty unstoppable. But that's the thing about baseball, softball, as they say, momentum only as good as the next day's starting pitcher. Or sometimes it's the next day's, lineup you face. So baseball is just one of those games you're going to fail more than you succeed in baseball and softball. But you also have those times where because you fail, and with Austin Town, they've been on such a roll, but sometimes eventually the streak's gonna end.
Now,
So
Austin Town, not new to this situation. They lost a game in the regionals last year. They came back to win the regional anyway. They lost their first game of the regional last year, so they had to win 6 games in a row just to get out of regionals. It won't be as hard of a road now that they have a 1 win under their belt, but they're still going to be in backs against the wall mentality for the rest of their run. Starting today, hopefully the weather clears up and they're able to get a game in. They were supposed to play Nebraska. It was supposed to be going on right now, actually. My plan for the show, Scotty, was to kind of live react to that game and call it as it was going. But what Mother Nature has nixed that idea. Talking about last night's game, though, Mila Hamley, who we know is very, very good, still pitched well, only gave up 1 earned run. But I think the biggest thing that she had to adjust to is that people put the ball in play a little bit more than most teams do against them. Indiana got 6 hits against Mila Hamley, which is not something you see. In fact, she didn't give up more than 1 hit in any game up to this point. So this summer, I should say, this summer up to this point. So really not used to that kind of situation where she's getting balls put in play. She had 17 strikeouts in game 1. So really has to kind of, draw back and be like, hey, okay, I'm putting the ball in there. Some batters are going to get hits. Anyone with a bat in their hand is dangerous, right? So, I'll regroup today. I don't know if she'll pitch today. It's 2 days in a row. If it's anything like last year, they might throw Annabelle Mikesell in a game where they feel like they have to give Mila Hamley a rest. But if they do throw Mila Hamley in this kind of back against a wall mentality, she's going to have to, just kind of regroup, reset, know how good she is, stay confident. And, we all believe in Mila Hamley. If you haven't watched her pitch, then I don't know what you're doing. But if you have watched her pitch, I think you would agree with me that there's no reason not to believe in that girl's talent.
in kind of keeping that into the conversation with Mila, do you think it's one of those things because she was on such a good stretch for so long that you think it's easy to flush it and just chalk it up as not having her best stuff in one outing, or did you give more credit to the opposing lineup, and not saying that they like exposed her or anything like that.
6 hits. I mean, that's not like right. Like in 1 earned run, only 1 run of the whole day was earned. So
yeah. So one of them earned. She still was very effective, but you've talked about it before, and I just was wondering if you could kind of refresh my memory. We've had plenty of discussions on this. When you're facing a pitcher that's kind of been, a buzzsaw toward other opponents, or are you of the mindset of that first good pitch you see, let it fly, or do you like more times than not, do you like that patient approach?
with pitchers like Mila Hamley, who are such good strikeout pitchers, love to get ahead, then love to just make you chase. Like you can't afford to be down 0-2 against those kind of pitchers. So I would tell every hitter in my lineup, if I was a coach facing that kind of pitcher, you better get to her early, because if you don't get to her early and you find yourself handcuffed down 0-2, the odds of you getting a hit go way, way, way down. And then if you were able to get ahead, you have to be smart, aggressive. Everyone knows that you can't chase stuff and then give her 0-2 by chasing, but you got to be able to just attack every pitch. You can't take pitches for granted against pitchers like Mila Hamley or the pitchers that we have in our area that are so good, like Gabby Gratishar, Sydney Watts, Milena Toth, et cetera, et cetera. If you take pitches off or take pitches for granted, or just go up there and say, I'm just gonna take this so I can see it and see what she's got. Like, no, you cannot take anything. You can't give them anything. So you give them strikes. So many players, so many hitters did that against those pitchers and do that against Mila Hamley. And I get the mindset because against a lot of pitchers, especially at the little league level, you have your coaches telling you, take a few pitches, see what she's got, try to time it up. And that's against most, right? But Mila Hamley is different. She's throwing 62, 63, and she's throwing the strikes. You got to go right now. If you don't go right now, you're never going to catch up to it. If you're on your heels against 62 as a 12-year-old, you're in trouble. So I liked Indiana's approach. I think a lot of people are going to watch that and try to mimic it. They were aggressive early. They attacked strikes. They didn't chase a ton. And they put the ball in play, which is what you have to do. You have to put pressure on the defense, because if you just let Mila Hamley go and strike out 17 out of 18 headers, you're not giving yourself much of any chance. So putting the ball in play, letting the chips fall where they may. And for Indiana, it worked really well yesterday, putting that ball in play, getting 6 hits and 7 runs by the end of it. Like I said, only 1 earned, but that's because you put pressure on defenses that aren't used to playing a lot, because Mila Hamley strikes a lot of people out. So if you make that defense work, then every now and then you're going to get good things happen. So for a lot of other teams, the downside for Amelia Hamley and Austin Town is that video is right there, and it's a TV broadcast. It's an ESPN broadcast. So it's, if they have good coaches that can scout softball, you can go on there, you can watch it, you can pick apart, her pitches, and you can try to have a good game plan for this game coming up. Now, I don't know how high level coaches are in Little League. I don't know what these coaches for Nebraska are like. I don't know if they can break down game film and find the little things in Amelia Hamley's delivery to try to attack as a lineup. But at the same time, it's there. ESPN Plus is broadcasting all these games, so you have every angle that you could need of her pitches. It's not like, it's hard to scout pitching when you're in the stadium live, unless you're in the right spot, because you really can't see the spin great if you're on the side, or really if you're right behind home plate. Sometimes the umpire blocks a little bit of the spin. The best place to see the spin of the pitch is that center field camera that the broadcast crews put together. So you have a lot of good things that you can go and watch and try to scout. So Austin Town, once again, they've been there before. They went through the elimination bracket last year. All those teams had the ability to look at their tape. Didn't really help. So Austin Town is going to have to do it again. They're going to have to get back on the horse. If they get a game in today, don't know what the weather is like down there. Don't know if it's an all-day thing or if it's just a couple of hours, then we'll get a game in type thing. But if they get the game in today, they just got to get right back on it. I think their offense has to do a little bit of a better job. Didn't take advantage of all their opportunities in their first game that they won 3-0, and they were a little bit really quiet in this game too. So the offense has to lock in and find ways to score, because if you get 4 or 5 runs and you have Mila Hamley pitching, I know this is counterintuitive because Indiana just scored 7 in that 7-1 victory. But if you have Mila Hamley pitching and you score 4 or 5 runs, 9.9 out of 10 times you're going to win the game. I know that game is a outlier. That's the 0.1 that just happened, which means it's never going to happen again, right? So if you just go out there and you give Mila Hamley run support, you let her be aggressive because she has a lead, you're in a really good spot. So Austin Town's offense, I think, has to lock in. They need that offense to go out there and do their job. And give Mila Hamley a couple of runs to lead, and then she can get into a more aggressive pitching style as well, which is just even going to be even harder to hit.
Do you think because they took the defeat last night, do you think, as far as from the Austin Town pitch side, maybe they come on in this one and there's a little more sense of urgency, like their aggressiveness goes up right off the bat? Or do you think it's one of those things where, didn't go their way, they just flush it, but they don't really change up too much what they've been doing? Because
Not what you said. You have to do that. Like, this is a sport where you got to trust the process. You got to trust what you're doing, your skill. You've seen a lot of baseball players do this, and I've seen a lot of softball players do this. The moment you try to really dramatically change something because you're in a slump is the moment that slump gets worse. Like, you got to go out there. You got to trust what your ability is. You got to tweak little things. Maybe there's little things to be tweaked. But if you try to make like dramatic, aggressive changes, then you're going to just, overthink yourself, overwork yourself, and you're not going to get out of that hole. So Austintown is a very good team. They know it. They have to go back to work whenever they play again. And they have to just make sure, hey, we know how good we are. We know that our process works. We know that we can go out there and hit. We know we can go out there and pitch, play defense. We just have to trust our process and trust what we do and go out there and do it execute a little bit better against Nebraska when they get back on the field.
Yeah,
I don't want to say it's that simple. The idea is that simple. The execution isn't simple. Softball is really, really hard, but the idea and the motto and the philosophy is pretty simple. Trust the process.
Yeah, and it's, trusting the process. The idea in philosophy, like you said, it's easier to, say that than to actually go out and execute it.
Let's also point out, Scotty, let's remind everybody, because I think everyone just kind of figured like Austintown's going to get right back in the World Series this year, like, because they got there last year and they did what they did in the regionals. Getting to the World Series is hard. It should be hard. It's supposed to be hard. Like, you're playing nothing but state champions that came out of their state. They're all good. Everyone's good. It's hard. So am I like surprised or totally shocked that someone was able to beat Austintown? No, these are good teams that are fighting for a World Series berth. It's hard. It's supposed to be hard. It's going to be hard. Austintown has a lot of work to do, and they can do it. They have everything that is available for them to do it, but so do other teams. So you got to go out there. You got to just play softball, and sometimes softball works in your favor. Sometimes it doesn't, right? But you're playing against really good teams in these regional tournaments, and it's hard. It's not a guarantee that Austintown gets right back in the World Series just because they got there last year.
And I also think, like, not that they're like tight after this. I think they're still.
No, I think it's going to really help them, Scotty, that they went through it last year, because a lot of those players are returning. They're like, hey, you know what? We did this last year. We did it even harder last year because we lost our first game. So we had to go win 6 in a row. Don't have to win 6 in a row now. I think you have to win 4 in a row. But hey, we did it last year. We're fine. Let's just go out there and win softball games. If Mealy Hamley pitches the way that she always does and the offense does enough, they're going to win a lot of games. So let's just go out there, do what we do, and win softball games. And that's what their mindset has to be. And they've already went through it last year, so they know how to do it.
Yeah, they do, and they've been, as you said, that experience last year. They're battle tested.
Right.
So, something like this, I don't, because it was even more difficult last year, I don't see this as rattling them, shaking them up. But at the same time, I do think, because there's a certain level of people where they're pretty much expecting that greatness from Austintown pitch, whoever they match up against, maybe they go in and maybe they are a little bit looser and not pressing as much because of that, because they're saying, hey, nobody's expecting us to beat Fitch anyway.
True. That could be very true. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Austintown bounces back, because there are some players on the team that weren't on that squad last year. They have to go through this for the first time. They have to be able to be loose and not be tight and think about – you never want to think in the back of your head this could be the last game. Like, you want to play like it's the last, but you never want to – it's hard to explain, because you want to go out there and give it everything as if it's the last game, but you also don't want to have that creep in your head where – if I make this mistake, it'll cost us the whole season. That kind of thing got to stay away. So you want the effort of your last game, but not the tightness of, oh my gosh, this could be the last. This could be the last. I mean, if I make this mistake, then we're going to lose and we're out of the tournament. You don't need that kind of negative energy into your head. So it'll be interesting to see if the new players, the 5 players that are on the roster that weren't on there last year, if they can kind of keep that away. And it'll also be interesting to see how good of leaders these 7 players that were here last year are to those 5 players that weren't, to show them like, hey, this is how we do it. This is the standard right here. This is how we do it. So it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see. I'm kind of bummed they're in a weather delay. I was really looking forward to watching it on the show. But instead, Scotty, we just get more time to talk about the topics that you brought to the plate. So we're going to do one of them and then a commercial break. So let's get your first topic of the day. Let's get it back to the 90s cartoons, the purple duck that we all know and love, Scotty. What's on your mind? Let's get dangerous.
Let's get dangerous. Darkwing style, of course. So Anthony, with the Olympics and everything here, I thought of a fun topic for today, and I was thinking
you
about
make me pick more Olympic teams. That was brutal.
No, that was
that made me think so much. Don't make me think, Scotty. I don't want to think.
This is gonna make you think a little bit. It won't make you think as hard. So I'm not gonna give you a migraine today, or at least that's not my intention.
I'm not Ty. I can't pull up stuff in the middle of a minute. And boop, there it is. All right, what you got, Scotty? What's this about?
So I was wondering if you could have cover one of the sports or / events of the Olympics, and a sport that we don't currently cover, but you were able to be an announcer for one day. What sport would you pick?
It's gymnastics. Like I talked about it earlier when you asked more Olympic questions last week. Like, I am a gymnastics fan. I watch gymnastics when it's not in the Olympics. I watch the World Championships. I watch the Visa Championships, which are kind of the U.S. championships they have. I watch all that, and I kind of got hooked into gymnastics when I was in high school. So I love watching it. We don't have, to my knowledge at least, we don't have YSN gymnastics teams. We've never covered a gymnastics event. I would love to. But that would that would be I would love it because I kind of know it. I don't know it enough to be like coach it or anything like that. But like, I think I could get through either a play-by-play or a color commentator to break down like, okay, this is what looks good about that routine. This is what doesn't look good. And I'd probably have to adjust because I know what like these Olympic gymnasts are supposed to look like. And I'm guessing that the high school level gymnastics would be a lot graded at a lot lower curve. So I couldn't be as like hard and nitpicky about stuff as I know that these Olympic and elite level gymnastics judges are. So I wouldn't be able to pick that apart, but I think it'd be fun. I would like doing gymnastics, both men and women. I think men gymnastics is really fun to watch too. I think some of the stuff that those guys do, Scotty, like to me, it's breaking the laws of physics. Like I can't even imagine being strong enough to do it. Like the rings. Have you seen them do the rings?
I have not. I've heard about.
You've never watched the ring event in the men's gymnastics?
I think I've seen just short clips.
Scotty, you go watch it, like Google it or YouTube it. Like the strength it takes to do that, you're just looking at it going like, how in the world are you even doing that? Like they're doing handstands, but all they have are rings on a string that are on a bar. So you're holding yourself up with rings, and then you like do a freaking handstand on those rings. Nothing that just the rings, and you're balancing and you're holding it. And I'm like, how in the world are you that strong? And these guys are ripped, Scotty. Like they're jacked. Like all of them have muscles that are like the size of my head. But it's just like that doesn't even compute to be that strong and that balanced and coordinated to be able to do that. I'm like, no, thank you. The rings blow my mind. The rings blow my mind. The pommel horse kind of blows my mind a little bit, but it's more about balance. I mean, strength is definitely a part of it, but it's all the balance and stuff. But the rings, like the strength you need to do the rings, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I wouldn't even be able to pull myself up to just get up there.
Yeah, I know I definitely wouldn't.
Nonetheless, like be able to do like all these like fancy tricks and releases on these rings. Like I'm baffled. And then I'm baffled how the women do all those like flips and tricks on a 4-inch balance beam. Like that's like the size of my microphone, and you're landing a backflip on it perfectly, or you'll fall off. I'm like, how in the world do you even do that?
It's pretty wild. You know, and not to get off of the gymnastics topic, but I was even thinking about like, you know, because a friend recently sent me a video of this guy. You maybe even have seen him before, Anthony, but
Wheelchair dude that does
he's
wheelchair
in a
tricks. Is that where we're going?
wheelchair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we brought him up before too. The guy that like he can do a handstand in a wheelchair and he can
it was
all the
like all this and I'm like, I wonder if Anthony
he takes
he-
I think it's the same guy. He takes like a wheelchair to a skate park and he goes up the ramps and does all these tricks on the wheelchair, which is just ridiculous. Like half piping in a wheelchair. Awesome. Let's do it, Scotty. I think I can pull off a 900. That's another sport. I think the extreme sports are still in the Olympics, like the skateboarding and stuff. I would be up to call that.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. I I don't know. I just my earliest memories, like I remember playing the Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Pro Skater 2 is OG. Pro
Yeah.
Skater 2 is the best. I'll die on that hill.
Yeah, Pro Skater 2 was.
Yep.
I remember. It had some great music in it. Too.
Oh yeah.
A great soundtrack.
So and then the some other sports that I think would be fun to. I love watching fencing for some reason. It's fascinating for me. Wouldn't have any idea like the rules or how to call it, but it would be fun. I like watching table tennis. I do.
I was gonna say table tennis. That would
and then I know we cover volleyball, and that's kind of, but beach volleyball, something that YSN doesn't get to cover because we don't live on a beach, or we don't have sand volleyball here. We don't have any of the. It'd be cool if one of the high schools actually did like a sand volleyball tournament during the summer that we could cover. But I digress. Beach volleyball would be really fun too.
Yeah. And beach volleyball, that would be a lot of fun. I think like rugby would be interesting.
Rugby's cool.
I've always been pretty intrigued by rugby as well.
Cricket's not in the Olympics, is it? I've always wanted to call a cricket game.
Yeah,
or I should say a match. It's a match, but
I don't think so. Is cricket? Is it kind of similar to baseball?
It's got its similarities, but it's there are definitely some weird differences. One of the big ones that I always like, whoa, I can't believe you can hit it anywhere. Like there's no like foul territory. So like you got the whole ring and you can kind of hit it behind you. You can hit it to the side. You can hit it straight up. You can hit it anywhere that the defense isn't. And basically your job is to just hit it and then run to the other wicket. And then that's how you get a run. And then if you hit it over the fence, you get 6 runs. And that's why these scores are so ridiculously high, because it's easy to just kind of chip away and get runs. And it's really hard to get it out in cricket because you either have to catch it or you have to make the guy swing and miss and hit the wickets. And you have to hit it enough that it knocks out the things that lay atop the wickets. So Cricket's wild. I've watched cricket before. In the international game has gotten more streamlined, but if you watch like the some of the old international matches that are scheduled to be like 5-day events because it's just so hard to get out of an inning.
Yeah, wow.
Wild. I'd love to call a 5-day game, Scotty. Like, we'll be back here tomorrow for day 2.
Yeah,
we're not done yet.
Talk about a challenge. Calling for a week.
All right, we've been playing for 6 hours. We're still going.
Yeah,
and we'll be back here tomorrow for inning number 2.
Yeah, that would be something, man. For sure.
There's a YouTube video out there. I think you'll like it, Scotty, because I don't know how much of a fan you still are of Francisco Lindor, but back when he was with the Indians still, he went over to England and did like a tour of their cricket facility, and it was really cool watching him try to swing a cricket bat and then teach the cricket people how to try to swing a baseball bat and see like how it's so similar, but it's still different enough that it's like it was hard for him to pick up with the cricket swing, and it was really hard for cricket guys to pick up the baseball swing. It was a fun YouTube video. If you're ever bored and want to watch something cool.
Yeah, I definitely, and I'm sure you know this because I know you've been a part of like the Challenger like
Challenger and Special Olympics with Mahoning County Public. Same thing that Radar's played on. I know I always see Radar with the same jacket I have, and it's like, Radar, buddy, we're Warriors, man.
Yeah, Warriors.
Let's go. Is Radar coming to football coverage this year? We're gearing up. Audible call's coming pretty soon, Scotty.
Yeah, it is.
We have 5 weeks, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to, and hopefully, I'll have a way to get out to the headquarters, get transportation set up. I'm definitely gonna talk to DJ about it. So
we missed you last year, buddy. We missed you.
Yeah, I missed you too. So I'm really hoping I'm gonna try to plant the seed now so I can get out there. But I wanted to know from you, Anthony, since we're on the topic, when you played, was there anybody like swing that you tried to like imitate or anything like that?
God knows, Scotty. I stood up there with like there's no one-handed swing, so I stood up there with one crutch and one hand, and honestly, like I was that kid that was like I was in baseball mode. Like I knew the game enough to be. I wasn't gonna swing at pitches that weren't out of the zone because I know baseball, so I walked like almost every at bat because the pitchers, they were throwing like outside of in the other batter's box or whatever, and most of the hitters would just want to swing the bat, so they just kind of go up there and they step like on the plate and smash the ball or whatever. I'm just sitting there like, I just want to get on base, man. I'm gonna walk, and I walked like, I think I put like in my whole and I played for three summers. I think I remember putting like 4 or 5 balls actually swing and put in play in my whole like special, because it was almost like, well, one, I can't step and go and get a ball out there anyway, so there's no point in swinging at it. And 2, it's like, you know what, walks are good. I was in like walks are good for the team, right? So I liked Special Olympics. Challenger League wasn't for me because it was more for just I couldn't handle the non-competitiveness of Challenger baseball. Like I needed a little bit of competitiveness. I needed the ounce to count. I know in Special Olympics still we didn't keep score necessarily, but we still, if you were out, you were out. If you swung and missed, it was still a strike. Like I needed that competitiveness in what I was playing.
You're like, I can't.
I understood the game too much to not have a little bit of competitive, juice in me.
Yeah, you're like, you're like, F this, everyone gets a trophy.
Yeah, like no, you do not get on base. No, there was one time I remember because when I was in Challenger League with Special Olympics, I was the catcher. I was behind home plate, I caught, but for Challenger League, they just kind of put everyone wherever on the field. Like there were like 20 people out there. It was not baseball. I get it. It's helping people with this. I'm not knocking Challenger League baseball. I'm just talking about my experience because I was a little bit more high level, with the mindset than a lot of people that were playing Challenger League baseball were at that point. So they put me like in the infield between the pitcher and the first baseman. And I remember one time, like I remember I'm like 10 years old, right? So I don't have the decorum or like the maturity. I'm just like out there. I want to play baseball. So like a little ground ball, like barely, like it's barely rolling to me. I grab it, I throw over to first. There's actually like a coach at first base or something. He catches it, and I'm like, got that out. Let's go. And then I look over, and the person's still on first base, and I'm like, what the heck? I got that person out. And the coach is like, no, everyone. And that was when I was done. I was like, I made a play, and I don't get rewarded for it.
You're like,
I made a play. Like I picked up the ball, I threw it to first, and I got the out. I made the play, man.
like,
I was done. I was like, you know what? This ain't for me. And
yeah,
then I went from there, and I think I did like some Special Olympics, like soccer at the Y, which was cool because it was competitive. We kept scoring. Then I definitely did Special Olympics basketball, which was awesome. And then I did softball too. So those were fun times in my life. I'll never forget being able to at least compete at some level with something.
Did you ever do? I tried this. It was like a year, maybe 2 years ago now, but it was called, and they actually have uh, guys that, or one of the guys I know at least competes like against like world competition, um, but it was like adaptive soccer, and they have these like special motorized chairs. Did you ever
See,
hear
I
it?
don't know if soccer just like dances in the face of handicapped people. So I'm not gonna go out there and play soccer. Like, no, I'll go out like if the whole idea of the sport is to kick, and I can't kick diddly squat. Sorry, not doing it. I would love to try the wheelchair rugby.
Yeah,
Wheelchair basketball, I've played that. I've had fun with that. Like wheelchair rugby, probably thanks to Friday Night Lights, is really cool. And there's also a really good documentary about it called Murder Ball. You should go watch it. It's fun.
yeah, I saw it. I think it was when it first came out, like years ago. I gotta revisit that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Revisit that dog
Knock people around. That's what I want to do.
for sure.
I want
Yeah,
to get you out of your chair so you're on the floor and I'm scoring a touchdown.
those guys were well, did
It's a,
you? Well, what about? Did you
it's a
ever?
contact adaptive sport. It's like legit. Like I'm gonna roll right at you.
Yeah. Did you ever get into to basketball, wheelchair
Not
basketball?
wheelchair. I played wheelchair basketball once. It was like it wasn't like a organized game. It was just like a pickup game at the Y, like a wheelchair basketball game. I played it once. Quickly realized how much you have to be in shape to be a wheelchair basketball player. It was like, oh my gosh, these guys are just athletes. So I never really played it again, but I've played wheelchair basketball once. I know the wheelchair basketball rules. I watch it. I got a chance to meet a bunch of wheelchair basketball players actually a couple of weeks ago. I should say a couple months ago, maybe a month ago, at Skylar Starnecchia, who is going on to play wheelchair basketball at Alabama, but she's from Champion. Her graduation party, and she had a bunch of professional wheelchair basketball players there, and I got a chance to meet a lot of them, and those guys are just like, I told you the story about the guy that got down the stairs, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they're just like, oh my gosh, athletes for days that I could ever dream to be at this point in my life. I'm 32. I can't just decide to be an athlete all of a sudden. My
Oh,
body has morphed into the laziness of life to all of a sudden decide I'm going to be a high class athlete all of a sudden.
so I'm just wondering, kind of piggybacking off, because you said you love to experiment, give wheelchair rugby a try. If you could have one one current YSN athlete from girls and boys sports as a teammate, first, what boy athlete would you have as your teammate for the wheelchair rugby? And
In
then,
wheelchair rugby?
yeah,
Oh, I gotta think of like the toughest dude on the planet, man. Give me Bowser, man. Give me Bowser from Hubbard, man. Like that guy will truck people like it's his job, and he'll be the enforcer.
what about?
You were a part of his wrestling interview. You know how big that guy is.
Yeah,
Like he lives up to his last name. Like he is Bowser.
he is for
Plus, we can put a
sure.
giant turtle back on the back of his chair.
It's a fitting last name.
And then if I had to pick a female athlete from YSN to be on my wheelchair rugby team, let's think. I got the power for Bowser. I need someone with like a lot of arm speed, obviously arm strength. So I'm thinking like some of the best outfielders or best like third baseman in softball, maybe to have the arm strength. Can't really judge arm strength with basketball, so I don't know how many basketball players I could just be like, oh, I bet she would have really good arm strength. I could go a shot putter and say that Bundy from McDonald, throwing team probably has a lot of arm power because she's one of the best throwers in the area. Track, volleyball would actually have a lot of arm strength because you got to have arm speed for that. That's tough, Scotty. I'll just, because I know the arm strength is there and I know she'd be able to, really not get fatigued in the wheelchair with the arm strength. I'm gonna say the Bundy from McDonald, thrower from McDonald, Grace Bundy.
I like it. I like it. And it's one of those things, especially with um, the Olympics now here upon us again, and stadiums being packed.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about it before, that sports is like that great. It's that great kind of medicine for, as far as you can unite, and it brings people together, and it's you
Yep.
bond over it. You can truly bond. And it's like I'm thinking about it just right now. And it was so great to um call my first softball game with you this past year. But
Mm-hmm.
um, I know, like, I got to start making myself more uncomfortable, because you start doing a thing for a while, you could sometimes let complacency set in. But to me, what makes it so great is um, just the fact that you can, like, there's variables in every sport, but what makes them special to me is, like, every day, every game, a different story has a chance to be told. And we give these athletes, it's kind of their own showcase to
Mm-hmm.
show the world what they're able to do. So it'd be really hard. I was really liking Mackenzie Gamble's game though.
Yeah.
So I would. She would be somebody that
That's not a bad choice. That's not a
yeah,
bad choice.
if I
Who'd be
wanted.
your dude? Who'd be your guy?
Uh, I think I would go with Marky stand.
Oh, okay. Well, we're both thinking wrestlers. I
Yeah,
like that. I
yeah.
like that. We both have the same
I
mindset there.
he had like he was just full of like energy and personality.
Right.
I really loved that interview we did with him. So I think that's who I would go with.
Oh,
For-
yeah. Hey, Scotty, we have a comment. Let's pivot a little bit because it's a perfect time to talk about NCAA 25. I'm sure you're excited about that game coming out. And I'm sure you've played at least NCAA 14 or one of the prior avenues of that game that existed for so long. And someone wants, hey, can you guys make the high school teams in NCAA 25? Well, yes, we can. We were actually having a poll right now on ysnlive.com/ in the game where you can go and vote for your favorite YSN family team. And the winner of that poll will be put in the team builder by our good friend Sam Torres, who is the head of the 440 and does a lot of things for YSN. He is the guru of team builder, and I know that you can do it. It's possible to do it yourself, and I know we've seen the comments, but it's not easy. It's not something that you can just like casually do in 30 minutes or whatever. So Sam Torres is going to put in the work for you, so you can just kind of sit back and relax and see your team in the game. If you don't want to commit yourself to the 5 or 6 hours at night it might take for you to build the team and to get everything right. So Sam Torres will do that for you for whatever team wins the pool in the new YSN pool at ysnlive.com/in the game. Vote for your favorite YSN team who you want to see in Team Builder in the new EA Sports game NCAA College Football 25.
Have you played it yet, Ann?
I'm poor. I don't have a new console. I have a PS4, so I am not compatible yet.
But you're a PlayStation guy
I
over
am always
Xbox.
PlayStation since the OG, man. Never had an Xbox. I always had PlayStation. Had the great PlayStation 1, had the PlayStation 2, had the PlayStation 3. Stuck on 4 right now, but I'm always X square triangle circle over whatever A and X B and Y. No, give me the shapes.
Yeah, and I think um, I can't remember. I know the one thing I will say because I was always, even though I had both, I was more partial, and I think part of it was a nostalgia thing too because I got PlayStation first, obviously with it coming out before Xbox, so I was a little more partial to PlayStation 2 even though I had both consoles. But I do think that Xbox did have the adaptive controller. uh
They did?
People, it was like,
I
yeah,
never even knew that. Like, I never needed it, but I didn't know that they came out with an adaptive controller. That's cool.
yeah, so that was pretty cool because I remember they had a commercial and the kid playing it was in a wheelchair.
So what's their
Um,
adaptive controller look like? It's not that's their normal controller. What makes it adaptive? Like what does it do to help? Is it
I,
like bigger buttons or is it a
I
bigger
think
controller or
I think it's like bigger buttons. Yeah, bigger buttons and
That's cool. I never even heard of adaptive controllers, so I'm gonna have to go Google that, see what that's like.
yeah,
I never have trouble. The PlayStation ones I think are really good because they're more compact, so you can hit everything with relative ease. Like I always felt like the Xbox controllers, especially for the first one, were kind of fatty
yeah,
a little bit.
they are fatty.
Um,
Um,
I think the best controller that I've ever like I love the N64 controller from back in the day, like the three prongs, and you had
okay,
the joystick in the middle with the trigger.
I'm trying to remember that one.
It was like it looked like a spaceship really because it was like one in the middle and then two prongs at the side. The joystick was in the middle. You had your buttons on one side. The controller layout hasn't changed. The buttons are on the right side. The arrows are on the left side. You had your your R2 buttons up here, and then you had a little trigger on the underneath too. I think the N64 controller is the best one that's ever come out. I will die on that hill too. I know I'm retro. I'm becoming that old school guy. A lot of people out there are like, what's the N64? But I will play N64 GoldenEye all night, all day. So
GoldenEye was
that was my jam.
Was Zelda and then
Oh, yeah.
64?
Yeah, they had all their Nintendo stuff. They had Super Mario World, which was really cool. The Pokemon games, because I was real into Pokemon when I was young. So those came out. The Stadium, Pokemon Stadium, where you could play. Well, the one thing I loved, you could play the Game Boy games on the TV. I was like, whoa. I don't have to look at this tiny screen anymore because my vision's terrible. I was like, oh, I can play it on the TV. Thank God I can see what I'm doing.
So, who would be your first, like, as for we talked about having, like, the YSN team for the new NCAA.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, like, as far as the person you have to, the athlete you create, who first comes to mind for you?
Well, my team builder would be South Range. I'm a homer. So go Raiders. I want to see the burgundy and gold in there. I want to see the brand new, I shouldn't say brand new, but the new field that looks really, really good. I've built South Range before on the old NCAA games. And so
Now, would it be people currently on the
that's what we're
would
doing.
you
If you
go
win the
just
pool,
current, or would you go
if you win the pool, not only do you get your team and team builder in the stadium, but you get the active roster with numerically correct roster sizes. So you get all that stuff. So the active roster will be in team builder if your team wins the YSN pool. So yeah, you'll have the numerically correct rosters with that as well.
Yeah, that's
like when I'm thinking South Range,
cool, man.
And I can't. But like, here's the thing: I saw some people making it already, and it's like, well, don't change things. Like I saw some people using the flag on the side. Like, no. I'm traditionalist when it comes to South Range. If you have a burgundy matte helmet, that's it. You don't put the logo on the side. You just have the burgundy matte helmet. You don't change things. There's nothing better than the burgundy matte helmet. I don't want the logo on the side. It's a cool flag logo. It's got his spots. It's really cool in midfield. It's not meant for the side of the helmet. Don't do that. Don't do that to me. Gold face mask. Got to be gold. Don't hit me with a gray face mask or a burgundy. Like, don't change anything.
Yeah, I would be torn between low.
I think it's a perfect day too because I'm wearing a NCAA jersey. I got the Michigan Wolverines. Shout out to Darren Waller, who this is his jersey. Cheney grad now playing for Kentucky, transferred to the Wildcats. But you got it. You got a championship 2024 playoff jersey out there, and I hope you get another one in Kentucky, man.
Yeah,
Ohio State fans look away. I know it's hard to watch.
It's I will say, and I've always been a Ohio State supporter, but I'll even admit they got some of the most obnoxious one of the most obnoxious fan bases out there.
Yeah, I love when people have that discussion because I think if you're looking for it, you can find obnoxious people in every fan base in every team in the country.
Yeah, maybe it's because I've been connected to Buckeye fans too.
And I think when you're in it, I think people who aren't Ohio State fans in the state of Ohio automatically hate Ohio State fans because it's almost like they're surrounded by it and you're bound to find obnoxious people because there's nothing but Ohio State fans in the state. So I'm sure if you ask someone from Tennessee who wasn't a Tennessee Volunteer fan, they'd say the exact same thing about Tennessee. Like, they have the most obnoxious fans ever because you have to live with them, and when you have to live with someone, you have to learn all their bad qualities. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess just like Alabama,
Yeah.
etc. Like, yeah. Like you probably being a Tech
And
fan,
one of the advantages
maybe
of
you
not
think
being
that
from,
about
like, not living
Georgia.
in Georgia is like I don't have the negative Tech experience or the negative. Like, I've never met, like, I don't like Georgia. I root against them. They're my rivals. To hell with Georgia. But I've never met like a terrible. I can't believe this guy is, a Georgia fan. I've never met like one of those dudes. But I don't live in Georgia, so I'm sure if I lived in Georgia, I would probably hate Georgia even more.
Yeah, that's true. But
So
your
I'm,
distance away from
because I don't root like for or necessarily against Ohio State, I've become kind of numb to their fan base, so I don't really have an opinion on their fan base as a whole. I think anytime you win a lot, you get a little bit of that swagger to you that some people can find arrogant and annoying, and they've definitely won and been relevant for a long, 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 long time. It's pretty much been Ohio State in the conversation since Tressel was there. They're always in that conversation. They're not always winning a championship, but they're always going to be there talking about it.
Yeah,
So that can get annoying for people that their teams aren't. If you root for a different team and you're living in Ohio and you're not one of the fans of one of the 6 teams that's always in the conversation, if you're a fan of someone else, it's going to be really easy to get annoyed by Ohio State fans because they're always in it. You're like a little bit of jealousy there, a little bit. It's a little bit. Do you have a college that you root hard for, Scotty?
I pull. Yeah, I'm a Buckeye fan.
Okay.
That's why I brought it up.
So you're a Buckeye fan that also thinks Buckeye fans are obnoxious.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
because I don't know. It's just like, to me, they're so like Jekyll and Hyde. Like one day, this is just from my experience. Like Ryan Day, for like a minute, especially after beating Notre Dame last year, and he gives his Ohio against the world speech.
Yep.
So many Buckeye fans after that were like, "Oh yeah, right," like they back him, and then second he loses to Michigan again, like he's the worst coach
Fire
ever.
him right now.
Fire
Fire
this
him.
guy. Don't let him get off the bus. Fire him. So it's just, and
Okay, Scotty, time out. To be fair though, Cleveland Cavaliers, that's what really annoyed me about them when LeBron came back, because for years it was I hate LeBron, burning his jersey, decision annoyed everybody, whatever it was like. And then as soon as he came back to Cleveland, he was welcomed with wide open arms like it never happened. And I was like, well, wait a minute. You just hated the guy, like vilified him for leaving your team for like 5 or 6 years. But as soon as he decides he's going to come back, it's all good, rainbows and sunshine. You're never mad at him once. So I was like, what are we doing in Cleveland? I don't know what side of the fence you sat on when he came back to Cleveland when he did. Like, if you were kind of still a little like I'm going to root for you, but man, you still did us dirty, or if you were just like, everything's forgotten.
To me
Let's all
personally,
sing Kumbaya.
like his letter did help in me in like making it, like expediting, like me being okay.
Okay, well, let's start
But
with this. Let's start with this,
also,
guy. Let's start with this.
in defense, Anthony, just one thing real quick before you go on. Like, we were all like, I was in my early 20s, and I feel like when you're in your early 20s compared to late 20s, early 30s,
Wait a minute, Scotty.
you're just not
How
as
many Ohio State fans are college students?
a lot of them.
So you can't make that argument. And not make it for Ohio State fans who aren't necessarily the most mature people in the world, right?
But
Right.
I get you win.
Now, let me start with this. How mad were you at LeBron when he moved out of Cleveland? Like, were you of the fan base that was like, I'm going to burn his jersey? I hate him. He's done. He's dead to me. Or were you like of some of the other fans? Like, they did exist out there. It was just the minority where it was like, all right, man, props to you. Thanks for your time. You put a lot into Cleveland. Go do your thing, whatever. I'm not going to root for you anymore. But at the same time, I'm not like going to, try to put a voodoo curse on you every time you come to Cleveland. Like, what
Yeah.
side of the fence were you like ticked that he left, or were you kind of like, it sucks, but man, you did a lot for Cleveland. Go get what you want to get. No hard feelings. We're not going to root for you anymore, obviously, but it's all cool. And then there were some people that were like LeBron hard in the sense that like, I'm not even a Cleveland fan anymore. I'm going to go root for the Miami Heat.
Yeah,
I know you weren't that because I know you're loyal to Cleveland no matter who stays and goes. So I know you're one of the first two. You have to be one of the first two, I'm assuming. I'm assuming you didn't go get a LeBron Miami Heat jersey.
No, I did not.
Okay. So what side of the fence were you on?
I was definitely PO'd.
Okay.
But at the time,
now here's another question. Here's another question, Scotty, because this is another key question. Were you mad that he left, or were you mad at the way he did it with the whole decision, the hour-long broadcast? I think a lot of people were even more ticked off that he did it in that way more than just he left. So I reason with people that were like, okay, I don't like him because of that whole show that he put on. But then there are a lot of people that were just mad because he left and he should never leave Cleveland ever and he should stay here forever. So were you mad at him leaving, or were you mad at the decision?
At the time, I was telling myself and other people that I was mad at the way he did it, because remember too, not only did he have the 2-hour special on ESPN, he didn't even he said nothing about about Cleveland being a great like he didn't say I want to thank the Cleveland fans and so at that time I was mad just the way he did everything.
I defend him a little bit in that conversation because I remind people that I don't know what went down, but I bet that ESPN had a big part in how that decision kind of program went down. They probably wanted the views and said, LeBron, like, if we're going to do this, let's drag this out so we can get all the views and we get people watching, talking about it for 2 hours. I bet ESPN, the execs, had a lot to do with how that went down. And I'm sure LeBron didn't go to ESPN and be like, I want this to be a 2-hour show about me. I would, maybe I'm naive in saying that, but I think ESPN execs had a little bit of hand in how that whole program went down. So I don't put that all on LeBron, but when you watch that decision, like he oozed with arrogance to me. Did you get that? Like he just oozed with
I definitely felt like he was smug.
The minute he opened his mouth, you knew he was leaving. So like you didn't even need the 2 hours. He was not hiding it. The way he ripped off his jersey while he was walking off the court in the last game that he lost in Cleveland, that told you like he's gone. He left. Didn't he leave the court early?
Yeah, he did.
So he left the court early. He took off his Cleveland jersey. I think that told me like he's gone, right? Like he's out. And so he didn't need a 2-hour thing. I think ESPN wanted the 2-hour thing because it got them ratings. It got them a lot of ratings like crazy. And that also equals advertisement dollars. But what really got me after was that whole like show they like not show, but whatever they did with Dwayne Wade and the big three afterwards where they were all on stage dancing.
Oh yeah, they came
that
out.
annoyed me a lot more than the actual decision because I was like giving them leeway, like ESPN probably made that decision, but the everyone on stage thing that they did, that kind of that annoyed me. I was like, oh, that didn't need to happen. Okay, but fast forward, Scotty. LeBron goes, wins a couple in Miami, decides I want to come back to Cleveland. were you forgiving of him immediately, or were you like, I don't know, man, I don't know? What side of the fence were you on when he came back?
No, I was definitely forgiving when he came back. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I guess you could say there's, maybe I shouldn't be as harsh on the Buckeye fans, but
It's easy to be that. Like, I don't think it's easy to be that way as a fan because sports are so emotional, and you get so caught up in the moment, especially like college sports, right? Because college sports, you could argue college sports have more emotion in them than any other sport because you're not just supporting, for most people, you're not just supporting like your favorite team, but you're supporting like where you go. Like, it is part of your identity to root for. If you're a student, now I'm not a Georgia Tech student. I was not a Georgia Tech student, so for me, it's not. But for a lot of these fans, for Ohio State fans, whether they're alumni or whether they're a student currently, they're rooting for like almost a piece of their identity, along with the football program or whatever sport their favorite sport they're rooting for is. So there's like a heightened sense of emotion that comes with being a fan of college sports. And I think that comes out in some very Jekyll and Hyde type ways, especially like Tennessee is the worst at it. Like, I follow a lot of Tennessee fans on Twitter. You think Ohio State's Jekyll and Hyde, you should follow Tennessee football for a little bit. Because my word, the fans single-handedly got what was the guy's name? Butch what I forget, it's not Butch Davis. That was the guy that was with Cleveland. I forget the guy's last name. But the coach that won the Hail Mary over Georgia, and he was like on his knees or whatever, they single-handedly got that guy fired. I will die on that hill with their Twitter outrage. They single-handedly got him fired.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, they're a little bit nuts in Tennessee. Love them to death. Like, I will have memories in Knoxville. I love Tennessee softball. It's cool. Have a lot of friends that are Tennessee fans. I'm a Tennessee sympathizer, but at the same time, like, their fans are nuts, man. Nuts.
Yeah, well, nuts. This was a good topic, though.
Are we out of time? We talked way past your time. Oh my God, it's 2:10. Good call, Scotty. Oh man, look at us getting involved in the podcast, man. That's what good shows are about, though, right? We don't have anyone bumping into a 2:00 time slot, so we're all good. Scotty, I even forgot to do our sponsorships. That's a good episode. Man. Well, let's just take the time to remind you that Running Point is brought to you. Not by my coughing, but by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown above our heads. They go the extra mile for you. We thank them for their sponsorship of not just Running Point, but everything that we do at YSN. We couldn't do it without the wonderful sponsors at Greenwood Chevrolet. I want to remind everyone that whenever Austintown starts playing, they are playing an elimination game against Nebraska in the Little League Central Regional Tournament, so make sure to tune into that. NABF will start tomorrow, so we'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow on the show. 1-2, the 18U NABF World Series will finish out the NABF coverage at YSN, so make sure to tune into that. And I'll also remind everybody that Team Builder poll is up until August 1st, so go to ysnlive.com/inthegame to vote for your favorite YSN team and get them into the NCAA College Football 25 Team Builder. And last but not least, Scotty, speaking of YSN teams, we want to give a very warm welcome to the Perry Pirates. They have officially signed to be a YSN team. Let's go. Another Pirate on board. We all love it. Stick to the code, man, right? Awesome. You've seen the Pirates movies, right? Stick to the code.
LFG, baby. Live for greatness.
That's exactly what that means. Because we're a family-centered program.
That's right.
We will see you all tomorrow on Running Point from 1 to 2 as always. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a good day, everyone.